If this talented British actor has ever caught your interest, then you probably already know that he is married to a woman 23 years older than him. And it seems like most of the internet community has a straightforward opinion about that fact.
Sam's like, oh, he's the one that proposed to me. Why would you accept a proposal from somebody who is like 18 or 19? Meanwhile, you are in your 40s.
That's not normal. That is completely, certifiably strange and inappropriate.
He looks so young. You should realize how inappropriate that is.
In what world is that normal or appropriate?
Even if he did fully believe that he was in love, you should understand how naive it is for him to actually do something crazy like that.
He's 32 years old. His wife is 58 years old. She groomed him.
She groomed him.
She groomed him.
In this video, I'm not going to try to prove that Sam Taylor-Johnson is not an abuser. I simply don't know and can't pretend to read her mind and her motivations. But I do want to highlight some problems with all that massive shaming that this couple is getting throughout their relationship.
Shame.
The main argument the shamers are using is morality. And what if we use the same criteria plus some rationality for their own judgment? So if you decide to go through people's comments on the couple, you will probably soon find yourself under the pile of misogynist, ageist, sexist and other bullshit crap. But if you dig long enough, you will finally find some legitimate moral questions. I categorize them into three main ones: age gap, power dynamic, and Aaron's age when starting their relationship. Let's quickly go through each of those topics. First, age gap. While it is true that 23 or 24 years different is really uncommon for a couple, it is not something unheard of, especially in Hollywood. Look at Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, or David Foster and Catherine McPhee. He's old enough to be her grandfather. But as long as they are both happy, it's their business.
Nobody cares!
The fact that the older party is a woman indeed makes that relationship even more uncommon in our society. But does uncommon equal to impossible be happy together? Well, I guess most of my viewers are mature enough to understand that each person is unique. Some might be looking for a different level of maturity in a partner, and some just unexpectedly fall for someone much older or much younger without really looking for it, just because their personalities and their chemistries clicked the right way. Anyway, proclaiming someone else's relationship as inappropriate just because of the age gap smells a lot like some toxic, moralizing shit itself.
The moral compass of the universe needs to be set into correction.
Next point is power dynamic. Well, this topic is indeed something worth discussing. It is true that an unbalanced power dynamic is often used by abusers to commit or keep committing their acts of abuse. Employees might give in to their boss' seduction because of the fear of losing their career. Students might fear for their grades. And abused spouses might endure humiliation and violence because they don't have anywhere else to go or a sustainable income to live independently. So an unbalanced power dynamic can be a major factor in a relationship of an abusive nature. But does an unbalanced power automatically guarantee that a person with more power is an abuser and their partner is a victim? Well, that would be a bit of a far-fetched conclusion, wouldn't it? Next, Aaron's age when starting their relationship. And here we go to arguably the most solid concern of internet shamers. The fact that Aaron Taylor-Johnson was of a very tender age when he first met his future wife. So let's discuss if this fact really can justify all that shame and bullying that fell onto Sam's shoulders. So the most often argument people are using is that an 18-year-old person cannot be smart, rational and independent enough to be able to make a conscious decision about dating a much older partner, which means that an older partner is taking advantage of their silly-willy young lover.
She groomed him.
She groomed him.
She groomed him.
Let's try to analyze this argument objectively. Is it possible that an 18-year-old doesn't understand what he's doing when starting to date a 42-year-old woman? Well, yes, it is possible. But it is also possible that, for example, a 32-year-old guy doesn't understand what he is doing when starting to date a partner that everyone is saying is not a good match for him, or when starting to date whatever partner, really. You see, rationality and a cold-minded approach are not something we usually use when we feel attraction to someone.
That's your dick talking.
While it's true that at 30 we are less likely to make some crazy moves, age itself is not a guarantee of great choices in love life. Same way as being young doesn't always guarantee impulsivity, irrationality and weakness to someone's influence. Anyway, most people still say,
She groomed him.
well, if we'll go to the strict definition of grooming, we'll see that sexual grooming is the action or behavior used to establish an emotional connection with a minor and sometimes the child's family, to lower the child's inhibitions with the objective of sexual abuse. And if we try to apply this concept to the story of Sam Taylor Johnson and Aaron Taylor Johnson, we'll notice one little detail. He was not a minor when they met, but no one seems to care about that. And I tell you what, the legal age when a person can decide to have a relationship with whoever and even get married was established for a reason. It's true that while we are younger, we are in general at bigger risk of falling into toxic and abusive relationships. But at some point, there should be drawn a line where we start to recognize a person's right to think and to decide for themselves about their personal and sexual life. And our society decided that 18 years old is a fair age for that. Does it mean that all 18-year-olds are magically becoming wise people that won't let others trick themselves into a toxic or unbalanced relationship? Well, no. It means that they now have human rights to make their own mistakes. And there are certainly some percentage of 18-year-old people who are mature enough to date an older partner and have a healthy relationship. I personally have a friend who always preferred to date much older men since very young age, and she is one of the most intelligent and mature people that I know. Not everyone needs this patronizing label victim, and we should be especially careful with unsolicited victimization. Can we say that Aaron Taylor Johnson was this wise and mature guy who was able to think independently when he was 18? Well, I think the only real answer here would be is that we don't know. We have no clue what was in his head or in the head of Sam when they started dating. So any kind of assumptions, especially ones accusing Sam of grooming the guy or taking advantage of him, is at the very least based on speculation, and at the very most could be considered defamation. Another popular argument sounds something like, I am and I would never date 18-year-old. And if this relationship is inappropriate for me, therefore it must be inappropriate for everyone. What can I say? I mean, congratulations for your personal criteria for choosing a partner, but there are no existing laws of universe stating that your system of values, limits and preferences in personal life must be universal for everyone. So far we've seen that the relationship between Aaron and Sam does not mean the definition of grooming. I know some people on the internet claim that she knew him before he turned 18, but we have absolutely no proof of that. And I would love to point out some additional problems that this harsh criticism of this couple shows. If you check the comments under posts or videos about this couple, you'll find tons of comments like this one. And one of the problems with them is that they are extremely patronizing and demeaning. Basically, strangers on the internet who are supposedly acting out of a desire to protect Aaron, are actually not respecting him at all and are denying him any right to choose his partner if that partner doesn't match up with what these people think is a good fit. All this despite the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson was legally an adult when the relationship began. So it doesn't even matter if Aaron says, "I was an adult, I was mature enough, and I knew what I wanted." People are still saying, "No, we know for a fact that you couldn't have been smart, mature, and independent at that age. You are a victim because we decided that," after watching some celebrity news. All this leads to a second problem: victimization. You know, even if Aaron was tricked into the relationship and somehow was a victim and suffered because of it, which I'm not saying was the case, how exactly do all these humiliating and sometimes insulting comments help him? Well, in no way. On the contrary, they produce an effect called secondary victimization in criminal psychology. All this pressure and messages implying that he is not okay, his life is not okay, having kids with Sam is not okay, can only produce additional psychological damage instead of the help and real support he would need. The correct thing, if you care about Aaron, would be to say something like, "We hope that he is okay and happy. But if this is not the case, we will always be there for him to show love and support." Before we go to the next point, I want you to watch this little fragment.
I don't believe that Sam is being intentionally abusive. I don't believe that she can see anything wrong with her relationship with Aaron. And I believe that Aaron feels the same way. And that's what makes this so tricky. Because if they're both so resistant to the idea that their relationship is inherently toxic and abusive, they're never going to examine it to understand that it's unhealthy.
This guy, in a very educated way, expressed a big part of the internet criticism, coming from people saying something like, "Sam should have turned him down because this is fucked up. This is not right. No personal connection can justify their relationship." But look what we have. We have an abuser who is unaware that she is an abuser. And we have a victim who is unaware that he is a victim. The only people who seem absolutely sure of what's going on are the internet strangers. So this kind of critic is judging Sam not because Aaron is suffering in this relationship. They don't even argue that the couple could be happy now, but for the sake of morality and so-called normality. They don't care if both are happy or not, but morality that doesn't take into account people's happiness makes no sense. Truth is, rigid morality becomes toxic. It serves to support people's rigid belief system, but not to support people. Rigid morality does not promote happiness. It only serves to reinforce the rules that exist in shamers' heads. So today Aaron is in his 30s, a millionaire, successful, and a Hollywood sex symbol. But people still labeling him as a poor, naive grooming victim. I don't think that's for us to decide. In CBT we have a saying that a person is the best expert in their own life. Not strangers, and not even a therapist. And I think we should respect Aaron's and Sam's right to decide for themselves whether each of them is okay in the relationship or not. Whether you agree or not, don't hesitate to share your opinion in the comments below.